True.
All right. Good input. Johnny, I feel like we were just here doing this.
We just did one yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about friendship. What's the most important thing to you in friendship? What's the most important thing in a friend? I'm asking you.
You can talk. I mean, this is like our just warm up. Get ready. Loyalty.
Everybody says that.
Everybody says loyalty. So yeah, it's a Monday night. We're recording 2 in a row. So I guess that class worked because
you're hyped. You're pumped right now.
I am.
You are pumped.
It is my last Monday to be 47.
Oh yes. You guys doing anything Wednesday or what?
Probably Wednesday will be low key, but I think we would like to have everybody over for dinner on Saturday for Joe and I together. I've planned a menu, but I haven't invited anybody. Sounds very me. Thinking about food. Yeah. Thinking about the food first. Mom and I spent the day together today. Took the day off to take her
you
out
took the whole. I didn't know
it.
you took the whole day off.
I did. I took the whole day off, and we went up to St. John's Town Center. She wanted to take a walk through Nordstrom.
Oh boy. Yes, I never walked through Nordstrom.
Well, no, it's not your scene.
No, it's not. No, it's maybe my scene. My wallet just can't go there.
Right. Yeah. So we don't go there to shop. We go there to walk through and see what we're looking for at Marshall's next year. Mom probably, shops there from time to time, but really we just kind of went to look and
what's going to be at
the
Ross,
fancy stuff, and see what we're going to catch at Ross in a couple years. It was fun, but they have a restaurant upstairs, so we had lunch up there.
In the department store? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's some rich people stuff right there.
I haven't been in a department store in a long time, but we did. We looked around at everything and laughed at some $200 pajamas. Then we sat and had lunch. But before, I went to my mom's house to pick her up, and I went and sat down and chatted with her for a minute. And she had a ring on her pinky finger. She wears rings on several of her fingers, but she had one that she doesn't usually wear on her pinky finger, this cocktail ring. It belonged to her aunt. Actually, so did a chest in my house, belonged to her aunt. And when her aunt passed away, Aunt Ruby, she left Mom these 2 things and said that they were to go from my mom to her daughter, to if I ever had a daughter.
Nice.
Down the line. And this ring my mom had on her pinky, I wore it on my wedding day. I know it'll be mine sometime. And she had it, and again, she's wearing it on her pinky, and she was talking about having it sized. And so I thought maybe it didn't fit her ring finger anymore. Mm-hmm. So we stopped first at the jewelry store to have it sized. But she had my finger sized. So that
she gave you the ring?
She's giving me the ring.
Oh.
So naturally I had to blubber in the store. Like even my Celexa was no match for the ring. I did. I had to cry in the jewelry store a little bit.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So she surprised you?
She sure did. So it's my birthday surprise from my mom.
Nice. You getting a lot of good birthday. Got some bourbon. Well, that was anniversary.
Was our anniversary.
Oh man, you got another one. Joe got another one coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then him the following week.
Tough month.
I tell you, September breaks us, man.
Yeah, I hear
Anniversaries, birthdays. Football season starts.
Yeah.
And we're always like, let's have everybody over.
Yeah, you gotta start having people bring shit.
We should have more potlucks.
Yeah, for real. Because they be cooking. Yeah. Ziti and.
Yeah. Well, I have good things planned for Saturday. The game is later this week. It's a 3:30 game, I think. And I have another funeral to go to in the morning.
Do you?
My board members.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So we'll do that. What about you? You watched some 9/11 documentaries?
I did. I try to avoid those things because I was there. Mm-hmm. Not there in the towers or anything like that, but I was in the city. I was in Rockefeller Center. And my dad saw people jumping out the window. So I have a lot of memories of that days that are kind of sad, and frantic. Like my grandmother calling me because my mom used to work in the World Trade Center, but she had left her job, and my grandmother didn't know. My grandmother lives down here, my dad's mom, and she called me like, "Is your mom okay?" And I was like, "Nah, she's home." Then I called my dad, and he was crying. Like, "What are you crying about?" He worked on Worth Street, but if you know anything about New York, if you're downtown in one of those scrapers, you can see. Mm-hmm. So he saw people jumping out of the building. So I try to avoid those things because it was a sad, sad day. Mm-hmm. And then if you had to go to work after that, as we all did, you smelt the leftover fire and you just know you know what it was, right? So, but today I came across something on Hulu. It was a National Geographic documentary. I think it was like, I forget, it was 9/11, the day, something or other. And it had stories of survival, which was good. So I like that a lot better. So I did that while I worked today.
Well, that's
and put my foot up.
You did put your foot up, or did not?
I got it up all the time. Still have to have it up so it doesn't swell. But yeah, so 9/11, tough day. But that was I recommend that documentary. National Geographic. It's on Hulu now.
Wow, yeah, I watch a lot of them.
Yeah, that one's good.
That's a good
it's
one.
Good. Yeah, I choked up a couple times.
Yeah, to check it out. So Monday night, I set the scene like I used to with the dim lights and a candle because we have a guest in the dining room studio today. They are your firstborn. Yes. And we've kind of talked for a while about wanting them to come talk with us about some things. Yeah. Now, I don't want to make you feel like you have to educate me like I'm a preschooler. I'm sure I'm going to make some mistakes and say some stupid shit. You can feel free to straighten me out, but I'm going to do my best. Tiara Hampton, you are the firstborn child of Johnny Hampton. Yeah. And we are excited to have you in the studio. We're going to talk about some topics and issues dealing with the gender identity. You got to share the mic so she can say hello.
Hello.
It might be easier if you guys unhook it and unwind it, and then you can hand it back and forth. Or I can do the same here if I need to at some point. But yeah, there's a lot of cord on that one, but that's probably enough. You guys can hand it back and forth like that, right? All right, Tiara, welcome.
Hello, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good.
So you live here in Palm Coast now.
Yes,
You live with your grandmother. You went away to college for a little while and came back.
Yeah, I wanted to be closer to my family.
And now you want to turn around and go back?
I miss it, but no, not really.
Yeah. So what made you decide you wanted to come closer to family?
I would say my family's getting older. My dad. Sorry, Dad. My grandmother, my great-grandparents.
Yeah. And you've lost somebody very close to you recently.
Yeah, my
as
grandpa.
have I, your grandpa. So it probably did make you want to feel more connected to those here.
Yeah, when you're by yourself, you kind of get lonely out there, so.
And so are you working?
Not right now, no.
Yeah. Just getting your life together?
Trying to.
That's a topic all on its own.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you want to do?
I have no idea.
Now, see that people say, oh, you're young. You've got all the choices right at your fingertips. But that's not necessarily easy, is it?
No, because there's so many things out there that I don't know if I like it or not. And what if I like it, but then I don't like it, so I wasted time like working towards it. It's just a lot of possibilities.
So is your plan to work for a little while and then see if education follows?
I hope so. School's hard. I don't like it.
But I heard you were this rock star student.
I was. I don't know what happened.
Yeah. Even in college when you're semi-studying things that interest you?
I feel like I liked it. I like learning new things. Like knowledge is power. Yeah. So like I definitely did like the college experience, but college is it's just stressful. Like having to like say working full time and then having school full time. Yeah.
It's a lot on your plate. You're here to talk to us about gender identity. Tell me a little bit about the genesis of this topic with you. Like, why are we talking about gender identity with you?
I feel like maybe it'll reach an audience that wants to hear it or needs to hear it.
But why you specifically? Why is this?
I'm trans non-binary.
Okay, I'm going to write that down.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
I don't want to freak you out if I'm writing. I just want to make sure that I say the right things as we go on. You're trans non-binary.
Yes.
Tell me what that means.
So I don't agree with the gender I was assigned to at birth, but I am what is referred to as like, you could say gender queer, gender fluid. So I'm either both genders or none at all. And that depends on the person or how you feel.
And how, I mean, this is a whole vocabulary you get to try to help figure this out. And identify yourself, is this something that you've questioned since you were like from birth, or was there a point in your life where you felt like something didn't feel right? Or tell me about that.
I felt like kind of in elementary school, probably like towards the end, I felt like a lot of the girls were more girly than I was, and I didn't fit in with the boys. They always made fun of me. I feel like I wanted to dress a certain way, but like I couldn't really express it because I was a little too scared to do that. But I think probably in high school, I started thinking about it, and I was like, do I want to be, I don't know, a man? Do I want to be a woman? Like, what is gender? That's kind of when I started questioning it. But like,
Did you question your sexual orientation?
Yeah, that too. I feel like that one was probably more important to me at the time. So I kind of put the other one on the back burner, kind of just so that I didn't have to deal with it in a way. But when I went to college, like that's when I started learning more about it.
And how did you learn more about it? Did you pick up a book? Did you meet a person?
I would say I had a group of gay friends. So I had I had trans friends. And also there's a class I took. I think it was culture and diversity. And we started learning more about like gay people and transgender people, and just different races and things that I've never like experienced myself, just because I lived in a small town my whole life. So
things started making sense to you.
Yeah.
Do you remember like a particular light bulb that went off that you're like, oh, I see myself in that?
I don't know. I would have to think about that one.
Yeah. So how old are you?
23.
And what are your pronouns?
Okay, so this one's complicated. I say she, he, and they. I prefer they, them, though. And the only reason I really use she is because most people are comfortable with that. So I don't really like she, but I'll let people use it anyways.
Yeah. So new people or people who have known you?
People who have known me, because it's harder for them to really grasp it.
Is it hard for them to grasp it, or is it hard for them to get into a new habit? Like I have to say, I'm working to make sure that I am respectful of your pronouns, because and I've only known your family a few years, and you were Johnny's daughter.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't want to disrespect you, but I could very possibly call you she, just because I'm still working on relearning. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So do you think that those people that have known you forever that they're more comfortable with it, or that they're trying to break an old habit and learn a new one?
I don't know. I feel like people are stuck in their ways sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's hard to and learn a new habit. But some of them are trying.
Yeah.
I guess that's important.
Are some of them not?
I don't think I've shared it with enough people. So.
Okay. Yeah. What stops you?
Judgment.
It's got to be exhausting too, kind of explaining yourself over and over again.
Yeah, because usually people don't understand, and then it's like you have to educate them even though you don't really want to, just for them to be able to use your correct pronouns.
And it seems like something that should be pretty simple.
Do you feel like the younger people in our family understand more than the older people?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Do you think, why? Why? Because they hold less judgment, or is it because we're talking about it more? Or
I feel like we're talking about it a lot more. I feel like it was always there. Like people knew about trans people, of course, but it wasn't something that people wanted to talk about. And now, like, since there's more people wanting to transition, there's more people who want to talk about it.
And there has to be a different comfort level talking about it now, because I don't necessarily think we have many, many more trans people. We just have many, many more people living it, like being it out loud.
Yeah, I asked that question because the other day, Tiara posted something on Facebook, and it was a picture. I loved it, actually. It was a picture where Tiara had on, like, it looked like a men's dress shirt and dress pants. And then the other picture was like a woman's tank top and jeans, and Tiara was very confident. Hey, this is me. I'm out here in these streets, and I know like I didn't see a lot of the older family members that Tiara is friends with comment on it, but a lot of Tiara's younger cousins would, and they would say, "Oh, you snapped! Look at you going back and forth."
Yeah, I definitely posted that to make a statement for myself. I felt really comfortable in that first picture with the long sleeve red shirt on with slacks. It just felt nice. I feel like I want to dress like that more.
But it's funny because I remember when you sent me the text and you were like, "Oh, these are going to be my pronouns," and we talked about it a little bit over text. And I always say, like, when you find stuff out, you didn't look back and say, I missed this. What were the signs, right? And one of those, when Tiara was young, Tiara would wear dresses and stuff like that. But as they got older and got to choose their stuff, it was sweatshirts, hoodies, Adidas and those other kind of sneakers, which weren't necessarily manly things, but they were kind of like what you would call, I would call them gender fluid, that a man or a woman could wear them. And so when you look back, and so when Tiara sent me that text, I was like, "Oh, that makes sense to me." But it is difficult, when you were asking like, "Hey, these pronouns." We had that conversation once. Her and her partner, with Tiara and her partner. She does the her thing for me because it's so like, and Tiara knows that I try. I do give the effort, right? Like, so we were at breakfast once, and we were just having a conversation about how hard it is for me because Tiara got mad at me because I think I said, "Oh, you're my baby girl," and Tiara was pissed. I was like, "Hey, 20-something years you've been my baby girl, so it's kind of, I can't just do it in 6 months." And then we talked about the respect thing, and I think there are some people who don't want to learn, and that's when you don't want to learn, that comes across. Do you feel like that comes across as disrespectful when they don't want to learn what you're trying to educate them? This is how I feel. This is how I want to live. Can you get there?
I just don't know how to distinguish the people who don't want to learn versus the people who just don't understand. So like, I just assume everybody is kind of on the same page where they don't really want to deal with it. So it's hard to just talk about it.
Yeah, I can imagine. So what is like the first thing you want somebody to understand when you approach them and say, "Hey, this is me, this is who I am"? Where does that conversation start?
I have to be comfortable with them. I remember actually a job of mine, like it was probably the first job I had, that asked me about my pronouns. And I was kind of like, it felt good that they actually cared about that type of stuff. And they said they're going to send it in like a flyer to all like the new, all the old representatives so that they would know. I feel like that was probably the most respectful thing that I could have gotten out of that. But when, I don't know.
So pronouns are a good place to start. They're a good way to start building a bridge.
Tiara and I we have a much different relationship than I have with my son. We talk about a lot of different things. But for some reason, the topic of her sexuality and her gender identity is one thing she has trouble talking to me about. And I never quite understood that, to be honest with you.
Listen, I don't want to talk about my sexuality with my mom and dad.
But we talked about everything else, though. I know. I understand where you're coming from, but like even when Tiara was finding her sexuality, like I was one of the first people to tell Tiara, you're gay. Yes, and you got so mad.
You better hand over that microphone.
He asked me one day, we were in the car, he was like, "So do you like girls more or do you like boys more?" And I was like, "Well, I like them equal," which now is true because I am pansexual.
Okay. What does that mean? Tell me what that means.
I like everybody under the sun. It doesn't really matter the sex. They could be trans, they could be binary, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I generally don't like cis people.
Okay, tell me what that is.
Generally cis males. Cisgender is just you're like normal, the normal social construct of gender.
The
The
like me.
stereotype for it. Yes.
But you like me, right?
Yes, I do.
I once Tiara said, Tiara first started out as I'm bisexual. That I just never thought that to be true. I thought, like, when Tiara says I don't like cis males, I saw that from that point on. And Tiara used to be so mad at me. I should be like, yo, when you just gonna tell me that you don't like males? That's what I used to say to her, and Tiara used to get so pissed in the car.
But cisgendered males,
Mm-hmm.
there's a difference.
Yeah. And it's got to be hard for somebody to tell you who you are when you're trying to figure out who you are.
Yeah, I would say so too. Because you don't really know. You're just like, I don't know. Maybe I do. Maybe I don't.
Mm-hmm. And there's no manual.
Yeah, definitely not. I wish I had one.
Maybe you should write one.
You could. But then I got a text one day when Tiara was at college. Oh, Dad, you were right. I don't like boys like that. Do you remember that text?
Yes. I remember the text.
So you have a circle of friends.
I don't know if it's a full circle.
It doesn't have to be a 97 person circle, but do you have people?
Yeah.
And they have your back?
Yes.
So I know in my life growing up, a lot of what I learned about my own identity, I kind of worked out with my friends. You know, you meet people who are different than you or who have different experiences than you, and you all kind of, I don't know, rub up against each other and learn from each other and whatever. So you went to college and you made this group of friends.
Yes.
Tell me about that experience.
Well, there's a lot of partying, of course, because it's college.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say the dynamics of the friends, it was like there were lesbians, there were some gay guys. There was like one trans woman in the group. I feel like I learned a lot about other like gay people by being with them, just because there weren't a lot of gay people in Palm Coast. I mean, there were a lot of gay girls, but like not gay guys or trans people at all.
Yeah.
That I knew of. So
It was kind of your first experience,
Yeah.
really being with people who are living it.
Mm-hmm.
Are they? So you meet them and kind of start discovering yourself and figuring some things out, right? Is sort of do you feel like you're figured out, or do you feel like you're still?
I still feel like I'm not figured out.
Yeah.
There's some things I feel like I want to explore, but I'm like scared.
What's scary?
Testosterone.
Mm-hmm.
That's scary. I've thought about that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that? I mean, does that lead to transition, or does that just lead to some characteristics that you're interested in?
I would consider it a transition, but just transitioning to what I want to be, not like to a man or anything, because I'm not, just because I'm non-binary.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some things about myself that I would like to be different, that like my voice, it gives me away for the most part. My face is really feminine and like it's cute, but like
yeah, you're cute.
It could be chiseled.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. You want to look on the outside the way you feel on the inside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I bet that is a scary thought.
Yeah, because it's not like it's irreversible, but it's just a lot to invest in.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
emotionally, monetarily.
Mm-hmm. So emotionally, yes. Have you had any type of therapy or anything to help you through this, or has it been?
I haven't talked about it in therapy, actually.
No.
No.
Why not?
I hate talking about myself.
But wait a minute, isn't that what you do in therapy?
Yes. I feel like I talk about being gay, but like it's just something like being trans is like I haven't figured it completely out. So I don't know. I just don't want to talk about it sometimes.
With your therapist?
With my therapist.
Okay.
With you guys, it's fine.
I was going to say, because you're here talking about it.
Yeah.
Is this torturous for you?
No.
Yeah. Well, and maybe, I don't know. I don't know what your therapist is like or if they specialize or have any information in this subject area that could enlighten you.
I feel like they probably would.
But you're just not ready to delve?
After I figure out some other things, I'll probably dig into that. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the hardest thing when you get out of bed in the morning and start to face your day? Like
I feel like my psyche bothers me a lot. Like I'm usually very depressed person. So that's probably...
Do you think that it's all connected?
I believe so.
Like maybe if, your dissatisfaction with fully understanding.
Yeah, I have like a lot of gender dysphoria and like body dysmorphia. So like that definitely affects me.
Can you talk to me about that a little?
Yeah, gender dysphoria, kind of, you just don't feel good in like the body that you have or like how you're being expressed or how you're being perceived. And then body dysmorphia just really has to do with like your insecurities with yourself.
So I see you post up pictures at the gym.
Yes.
So how does that fit into it? I mean,
I feel like when you go to the gym, you start like picking at yourself more because you notice different things about yourself when you're at the gym. Even though it's like it's a positive experience. I love going to the gym. But like it's just one of those things that comes with it.
Yeah, is it like it seems like the exercise and the endorphins would be uplifting, but then maybe the analysis of what you look like might be.
It's probably just overthinking for the most part. But the endorphins kick in, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. My son is in a zone right now where he works out every day, and if he doesn't for a couple of days, I can tell in his mood. Because I think that probably helps. It doesn't solve every problem, but moving your body some kind of does help move some emotions through. Do you want to be a parent?
Sometimes I think I do, and sometimes I think I don't. I say that because this world is crazy.
Yeah, it is.
But sometimes I think about getting older and having kids.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you are pretty young. It's probably an unfair.
You got time. You got time.
I mean, pregnancy can be probably a mind fuck, and
if
being ultimately responsible for another human life.
Yes. And what will I look like when I'm pregnant? Yeah.
No, I'm sure. Like, I think that was a little bit that my friend was dealing with. Like, it's just not something that I don't think she ever envisioned for herself, but she was in this amazing relationship and her partner couldn't have the baby. And so she did it. And she dealt with a lot.
Like, imagine me with a beard and like pregnant. Like, I feel like there's a lot of things to think about. Like, what would my family think? I don't know. I think about that a lot.
You need to stop worrying about what other people think all the time. That's my advice. As part of your family, you got to just be you.
But that's what this whole conversation is about.
Yeah,
just figuring that out.
Yeah, like you, in that thought process, when you decide who you're gonna be, and when you decide who you're gonna be, there's people who are gonna fall off, and those people could be blood relatives, they could be friends, and those people just got to get going. And you just got to be what you're going to be. But I wanted to ask you two, because, we're talking about kids, you could always adopt.
I actually wanted to do something different. So, like, I've done a little bit of research, but there's, like, a procedure where you can take, like, one person's embryo and the other person's, or just take theirs and then have a sperm donor and then have I could like carry theirs or they could carry mine.
There are a lot of different ways to make a family anymore, right? Yeah. Yeah. So down the road.
Yeah.
Down the road. What is something that, that you want our listeners who might have tuned in not really knowing anything, what is something you want them when they turn this off and go on about their day to carry with them? Something that they don't already know about someone like you.
They should know that trans people are just regular people trying to figure out life the same way as everybody else.
Why do you think people are so scared of trans people?
I feel like people are scared because they don't want to figure their own stuff out. Like maybe their gender identity isn't what they want, or they're just fearful of the unknown.
And it's easier to just be like, you're a freak, than to actually sit down and go, let me empathize and try to figure out stuff from your point of view. Your dad always says we're not an empathetic people.
Yeah, and one thing I used to always say, it's easier to do the wrong thing than it is to do the right thing. So it's much easier to just tell somebody, you're weird, than to actually do the research. And I think people are scared of what they don't understand. So like an older person who, when they were young, gay people were forced to be in the closet and they had to go to underground clubs and couldn't walk the street. They don't understand it. And they're not trying to understand it. I'm 70-something years old. What do I need to learn something new for? Well, the world evolves and you got to evolve with it. And if you don't, then you lose connections to your loved ones and all that kind of stuff. So you guys got to be connected and try to learn as much as you can and understand as much as you can.
So, shifting gears a little bit, are you an activist?
I wouldn't call myself an activist, I don't think.
No? Do you march? Do you protest? Do you...
I guess I have been to protests, yes.
How do you impact your community?
I think about this all the time. I feel like I'm impacting my community by living every day.
Yeah. I've said before on the podcast that I have a friend, Christine, who used to say that everybody is invited to the revolution. You need people who are walking on the front line, and you need people who are trying to write the laws, and you need the people who can write the checks, and you need the people who can send the mailers, and you need the people, like there's room for everybody in the revolution. And so yeah, that's your role right now, is living it, figuring it out.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's big. You need that.
Especially in the black community, you need it. Because
that's, I guess, something we didn't really touch on.
Yeah, we're not even, because it's much harder for a black woman or a black man to do this.
To do anything. Yeah,
based on, especially just in our community, based on our history of homophobia, transphobia, and all that kind of stuff. Where, like I told you, we didn't even understand, the F word was bad when we were coming up. We didn't understand that. Yeah, we didn't understand that. Like, we heard it all the time, and we just thought it was just a regular word that meant something else. We didn't think of the impact. So being a young black person and coming to terms with this, when older black relatives raised in the South don't know what the heck you're talking about, it's tough.
Do you think you're brave?
I want to say no. But I guess in some ways, yes.
Do you think you're strong?
Yes.
I get that. And I know your parents. This podcast isn't only called Strongly Worded because of my mouth. But, you could have been born into any family. You feel like you were born into this one because they could help that growth and help your coming out with some acceptance?
I feel accepted, but it's just like nobody, I guess most of the older people in my family, they'll ask me like, how's your friend? Or like things like that. And it's like, are they actually acknowledging it or like brushing it off? I don't know.
Yes, that's an old Southern thing. Like that. That's what I'm, like. That's an old Southern thing. Like they don't want it. To me,
is it possible that they don't know what to call your partner or your friend?
Maybe, yeah. But I guess it goes full circle into the learning thing. Like, are they willing to understand?
And are you willing to teach and give them a little grace?
It's hard with the grace. But I guess I should.
It probably has to go both ways a little bit while you, at least in the beginning.
I agree.
So let me ask you. So when you first were coming out, you were nervous to tell me.
Yes.
Why?
Because you're my dad, and I don't want you to see me any differently. Even though you say you have unconditional love for me, it's still like, what if?
What if what?
What if you didn't accept me?
Or what if you're disappointed? Or what if you referred to the Tiara of the past as your baby girl?
Right.
And so that can, being different than that image that she knows you had in your head, that can be tough to disrupt. To feel like, I mean, because sometimes I know that parents talk about even mourning the life that they envisioned their child having, or I don't know, mourning or grief is kind of a heavy word for it, but having to, and I would imagine too, things were going on in your head a lot longer than they were in his experience. So he had to catch up real quick.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I think I can totally see, like, even in the closest of relationships, when you introduce a big new topic, it can be intimidating.
Yeah, so I mean, I think as a parent, you might be right, but I think ultimately for me, and I can only speak for myself, right? So it doesn't matter what you decide. I think me and you have serious, like the other day, we'll talk about this, the other day Tiara said to me, I don't know if you like me very much. And I said, sometimes I don't like what you do, but I love you all the time. I don't.
But she didn't say she didn't think you didn't love her.
Yeah,
she said you thought you didn't like her very much.
Listen.
That's different, right?
Yeah, but
She's nodding her head, folks.
Yes, it's different.
But I also think, if I don't like you, you know what that looks like. Right? I mean, you've seen me not like people before. And so I say that to say you got a lot of decisions to make about your adult life coming up, whatever it's going to be. But you're always going to be my firstborn child, and I'm going to love you the same. So that doesn't change, right? Like, so that's why I told you that day. Those things don't change. Me and you don't change. You could change. I could change. I'm going to get older. You're going to do whatever you're going to do because that's your journey. I got the only thing I ever want you to be is happy. That's me. I'm your dad. So other people, you got to discuss those things with them. But your parents just want you to be happy. Want you to be happy. Want you to be responsible. Like I could tell you, me and your mom don't ever talk about gender. We don't ever talk about that at all.
Maybe you should.
No, I mean in terms of how that factors into us loving her, or loving Tiara, or being disappointed. None of that stuff. We just want you to be happy, safe, responsible. We'll deal with the rest of it.
I don't know what to say to that. Love you.
Is there something that you wish your mom and dad did talk about amongst themselves when it comes to these things we're talking about today? Do you wish that it was a topic that they talked about with each other?
I feel like maybe talk to mommy about it more.
Mm.
And yeah, well, maybe I will. I mean, I don't know what to say about that. Maybe I will. I mean, I think I always assume she understands it and gets to the point because we're from New York City, like we've seen that. Yeah, like so I know we haven't seen it in our kid, but it's like when Tiara told me all this stuff, I was like, I was shocked. I didn't think about being a dad. I just thought about my personality, my moral compass, the things we've talked about over the years. And I was shocked that Tiara would be nervous about telling me. I didn't think about, oh, you're my dad. I didn't think about that. I was upset. I mean, other people in the school knew before me.
But I think that makes
that's
sense
normal.
too.
Yeah, it's normal. But at the time when you find out, you're like, damn. And you wonder, like, have I fostered a relationship where you felt like you couldn't come to me? But, when you say, oh, I don't want to talk to my dad about that stuff, I guess it makes sense. I guess.
You're my best friend, but sometimes it's just because you're a parent. If you were like my best friend and like not my parent, then I probably would have told you like a while
There's
ago.
probably a lot of things that you guys could talk about, but are different under that veil of father-child.
Yeah.
I mean, because like I said, I'm like just a boring old white straight person, and I don't want to talk about anything sexual with my mom. I just don't, so I can imagine that can be challenging, and it makes you vulnerable to open up to do that and want to be understood by the people who love you the most.
I feel like one day I'll have like a good sit down talk, but until then.
Well, we just did that hopefully for the last 48 minutes.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, Tiara, I don't think from Tiara coming out to, going to college and getting all this exposure to different things, Tiara's never come to us and sat down and said, hey, this is how I feel about myself.
Mental health. Let's talk for a minute, if you want to, about how your mental health figures into all of this. Do you see those as separate?
No, it's an intersection. Yeah. I feel like a lot of people who are gay or trans have like a lot of mental health problems that they either can't afford to deal with or just don't want to deal with. I feel like my mental health definitely has played a part in just like feeling insecure in myself, not knowing what I really wanted, and like my dad always tells me you shouldn't worry about what people think. I have anxiety, so I'm going to worry about what people think all the time. Yeah,
and it's not something like don't worry about it doesn't work. I have it too. I've been treated for anxiety most of my adult life, and I get it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, count yourself lucky. That probably intensifies a lot of things that you're going through. Do you have a diagnosis and a treatment plan? Like, are you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. And so that's just another thing you've got to keep up with on your hustle, right?
Yeah, and it's hard to keep, like, I guess the motivation to, like, keep working on yourself, even though you have to, like, it's hard to keep up with.
What makes that part so challenging?
I guess it's like it's like a physical sickness. Like, when you feel better, you feel better. Like, there's no other possibility. But if you feel better while you're having mental health problems, you might not always actually feel better. It might just be a placebo effect or something like that.
Those are some of the conversations that we have a lot when it comes to Tiara's mental health. Just keep on keeping on. And if you get to a good spot, it doesn't mean you're in a good spot. It's unfortunate because it's not fair, right? Like, and it's not fair. And I tell Tiara all the time, I don't understand it. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. There's nothing I can do outside of be there for you and try to give you some good advice. I can't walk you through it. Like, it's a lonely journey because no one can help you. You can go to somebody. My knee's hurting. I can go to somebody and say, hey, put some, Epsom salt on it. You'd be like, thanks. But someone who's going through anxiety, even talking to someone else who has it, they experience it totally different. So it's a journey. As a parent, sometimes you feel helpless. Like, I feel like that sometimes. Like I wish I could help, but I can't. And a lot of the conversations we have is just like, you gotta have this treatment plan. You gotta follow it. You gotta take the medicine. I'll help in any way that I can. And we gotta see, once we do that for an extended period, how that impacts your life. Because I'm not, and I'll ask you, Tiara, I'm not sure you've done that yet. Do you feel like you've done that for extended periods of time?
In some occasions, yes.
And how long do you feel like it's worked out?
I feel like I generally feel like the same. Like, I'm in the same spot. And it might just be because my brain is still changing. Like, it doesn't stop until you're 25.
Mm-hmm.
So
as we're kind of approaching the end of the conversation, what is something that you today at 23 wish you could have told yourself at 13?
I don't really know, because to be honest, I didn't think I was going to make it this far. So I wouldn't really know what to tell my old self. But
what would you tell somebody else?
That there's hope. You can find it in your friends and your family, coworkers if you have good ones.
Mm-hmm. That there's hope.
It doesn't get easier, but there's hope. Yeah.
Well, I wish nothing but awesome things for you. And as you continue to evolve and, figure out your life and work and all that kind of stuff, I know there's hope. I think you're going to rock out. You're going to get to a place where you can be like,
I hope so.
Yeah, I think that's going to happen too. It's hard to see that when you're in it though.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also a lot of disconnect we have at times. I'm like, because I call TR T-Bird. T-Bird, you can make it through. This is, it's hard to tell someone anxiety, depression, gender identity. A lot of the stuff outside of that is normal stuff. You finding your way in your career, normal stuff. You going to college, being homesick, normal stuff. That's normal stuff.
Normal, but magnified.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's the part that's the disconnect. Like, it is normal, Dad, but for me, when I miss you, it's not simple as just pulling up an old photo. Like, I need to see you. I need this hug. It's that intense. So that it's taken me a while to get to that understanding. But you learn a lot from your kids too.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I hope our listeners learned a lot from this episode, because really I think we're all more alike than we are different. We like to draw these divisions and put up these walls, but really we're all just fucking people trying to make it to the next day, right? Mm-hmm. All right, Tira, thank you very much for being on the show today.
Thank you.
We liked having you. And I enjoyed this conversation.
And maybe we'll have you back one day. Maybe, I don't know.
I'm sure we will. There'll be something cool to come back and talk about. All right, folks, listening again, we thank you for your support of my Flagler United birthday fundraiser. That's been really awesome to have you all take part in. You can find more out about the Strongly Worded Podcast by joining our Facebook group, the Strongly Worded Podcast group. Follow us on Instagram at the Strongly Worded Pod. I tweeted today, Johnny.
I saw that.
I sent a tweet.
I did see that, yes.
The Strongly Worded P. You can visit our website, thestronglyWordedPod.com. You can click that merch button and order yourself a t-shirt.
Yeah.
An Urban Black Man t-shirt, if you are such.
I'll get you one of those.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for being with us, and thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next week. The Strongly Worded Podcast is written and produced by Johnny Hampton and Sue O'Lear. Music production and vocals by Marshall Max LaMont Hamilton, and cover art by Samantha Shakes.